Our purpose in life is to seek knowledge every single day, then turn around and pass the torch of knowledge on to someone else. If you want to leave a legacy, seek knowledge and pass the torch. Here we go. All right, we are on another episode of Pass the Torch podcast. Today we have Niamh, who is a speaker, a storyteller, an intuitive mentor, and the founder of ATTUNEME. Thank you so much for being on Pass the Torch podcast. Correct me on how you say your name because it's so unique. It's a beautiful name, by the way, but I butchered it the first time I read it and I tried to say it.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to connect with you and your tribe. So my name, it's a beautiful name, but it's the bane of my life because no one outside of Ireland knows how to pronounce it. So it's pronounced Niamh, or I like to say Eve with an N, Niamh.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, but in Ireland, the language, when there's an M and a H together, gives a V sound phonetically. So it plays a few tricks on people.
I love that.
But it's also a good icebreaker.
And I'm American, so I say Ireland. How do you say, how's the correct way to say it? Because I know there's a thing about pronunciation there too.
I say Ireland, but
okay.
A lot of people outside, say Ireland.
Yeah.
It's a funny one, but there's no right or there's no wrong.
I love it. Niamh or Niamh.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. So the first question that we always get into in the show, and reading over your website and it allowed me really to get deep into your story, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to go straight into that. Is tell us about your why for why you're on your journey today, and then we'll start diving into a little bit of the history and how you got on your journey in the first place.
I love this question, the why question, because it's something that, for me, growing up in Ireland, from a very young age, I always questioned my why. I questioned my existence, and I always knew that there was a greater purpose or reason for being here.
Yeah.
And growing up in, a small town in Ireland, it was very hard for me to explore that and to really understand, okay, what is my deeper why? And why do I have this drive or calling to have a deeper understanding of my experience or what life is? So, I have experienced quite a lot in a short space of time in my life, and we might dive deeper into that in a moment. But one thing is for sure is that my life experience, I've come to my own understanding of what my why is. And I speak about this on my website, and I feel like we have three primordial whys. We have the first why that we seek to discover is our human why, right? So why, who we are. So our human why could be that we are a wife, we are a husband, a brother, a sister, a parent. Maybe our human why is, Pass the Torch podcast, or creating a container, a space to grow and evolve and support people in tapping into their human potential. It could be that your human why is to be the best business owner that you can be, providing a product or a service that's going to, support humanity. Whatever that is your human why. And quite often we become so focused and fixated on that why and getting clarity on it. But I feel that the more connected we become, the more aware we become of who we are and our human potential, we begin to understand that there's an even bigger why, and that is our earthly why. And when I talk about this, sometimes it may seem a little bit out there, a little bit different, but I invite you to come on this journey with me. We mentioned earlier about storytelling. I love to tell stories. Yeah. So if you're struggling to grasp the concept, let's just imagine. Let's use our imagination. As we're kids, we use our imagination and we go on a journey. So imagine imagine that everything is living. Imagine that, you know, we are vibrating matter molecules, and everything that exists within this universe, within this world, is made up of energy. You and I are living, the plants are living, the air that we breathe is living, you know, the ocean is living, everything is alive. Now that would presuppose that this earth, this planet is also living. So I often refer to the earth as Mama Earth, or, you know, it is a planetary being, right? So in a lot of in cosmic theories, they say as above, so below, right? So everything that exists within the cosmos exists within us and within this planet too. So for me, going back to our why, is there's a reason, there's a purpose why we've chosen to be here incarnated on this planet at this time, right? There is a calling, there is a specific purpose as to why we've come here to co-create with her, right? And I say her because I feel like she's feminine aspect. She's very nurturing. She's given us everything that we need, you know, the water that we drink, the food that we eat, the air that we breathe. And, you know, I'm not the first person to say this. Many people, even many of the ancient cultures, they go back to even some of the indigenous cultures, they always refer to the earth as Mother Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
you know, tapping into our earthly why is connecting in with her, like spending time in nature and going, you know, why did I come here? What's that greater reason that will get me out of the bed in the morning? What am I here to co-create with her? What act of service am I here to create and offer? And what's my unique expression?
Yeah.
Because the why and the purpose can become a trap too, when we're constantly seeking to be somebody rather than listening, stopping and listening, connecting. And also we have a unique expression. And quite often in the personal development industry, we can fall into the trap of matching and mimicking other great leaders, which is awesome, right? Because these leaders are representing what is possible. Mother Earth is calling us forward to do, I believe, and again, question everything that I share, because I'm only sharing how I see the world and my own limited experience of the world. But I feel that she's calling us to step up and to lead side by side, but to bring through our unique expression and to choose to honor the reason and the purpose that we've come here with her. Now, if you're sitting here listening, you're going, okay, I'm still trying to figure out my earthly why, my human why. I don't even know about this earthly why. Then that's okay. I believe that it will come into your conscious awareness at a point in time when the planet is ready for you to realize what that purpose is. Now, I also talk about your universal why, which is, again, taking it that bit further and understanding that we are universal by nature and that we are connected to the all. And I'm, you know, for years, and we'll, you know, maybe we'll get into a little bit of my journey, but for years I was a closet spiritual and quantum physics. I'd be reading all these books and trying to understand, you know, how everything works and how everything is connected. And some of you might be interested in the work of Nassim Harim, the Resonance Project, where he recently actually mathematically and scientifically proved that we are all connected. So his theory is based on, so he actually, and don't, and while I passed my maths class in school, I'm definitely not an expert in mathematics. But his theory is that he has studied the nanoparticles that exist. So we know what an atom is, or we've heard of it, or maybe slept through that class. in school, I don't know, right? But we've heard of the term of atoms and molecules.
Yeah.
So he actually looks at the proton that exists within the atom, and then he studies the nanoparticles that exist within the proton. And what he realized is that in those nanoparticles exists a black hole, right? Now, I know we're getting really out there now, but just bear with me.
No.
So imagine there's a black hole within these nanoparticles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what he proved is that the mass of the particles that exist within that black hole equal the mass of all the protons throughout the entire universe. So what he quantified is that we are all connected through all time and space, and that every molecule of and every proton throughout the entire universe is connected. So, and that's what just, I always like to address. We can talk about these theories, but it seems to be that science and quantum physics is catching up now, and we're beginning to have a greater awareness of this planet that we live on. And I think it's really important, if we really want to tap into our true human potential and understand who we are and what this vehicle can actually do, and the power of our mind and the power of our heart to create our reality and to create impact in the world, we need to understand where we're actually living. We need to understand what makes up this world and how we are actually connected to everything that is. So when I talk about a why, it's a multifaceted why. There's your human why, which for most people and for the most part, that's where we're focused on. Yeah. And at the right time, it will become known to you what your earthly why is, and that's what's going to drive you forward. It's going to compel you to understand your connection with self and your connection with this planet. And then once we integrate that, then we'll begin to understand our universal why and the journey that we've been on through all time and space, and understanding our multidimensional nature. And that's another conversation. But I think for the purpose of this podcast and what we're tapping into now is, if you are becoming aware of your earthly why, and maybe you have a really deep sense of clarity around that, start stretching and asking and moving into your earthly why, and maybe start asking a question, because a lot of people, our clients come to me and say, I have this big vision and I feel like I can't do it on my own. And the first thing that I say is that you're not doing it on your own. And they're like, huh? I said, you're not doing it on your own, because for you to be here to have this human experience, you're in an intimate experience with this planetary being. So you're actually in a co-creative process. We all are in a co-creative process. We're all here co-creating this experience called life, and it actually cannot be possible without each person, every living being, every one of us playing our part. And this is, I guess, we've been in a slumber, and now we're starting to wake up. The light switches are coming on, and we're saying, actually, the true potential of what this human experience can be, we've only been experiencing a fraction of it. But now that the light switches are going on, and we're realizing, wait a second, I'm co-creating this with everyone else, and actually I need to play my part. I need to play my role, bring through my unique expression, whatever that looks like, and support this process of experiencing what is possible, experiencing our true human potential. And that's, I think, something that, has brought us together on this podcast, is our passion for activating our true human experience.
What would you say to someone if they're saying, "Hey, look, I have this feeling I'm supposed to do something great, um, but I don't know how to activate my human potential." So I would say, what do you think is the definition of human potential for them to recognize that in themselves? And then how would you say they unlock that?
Mm. For me, my work has evolved so much over the years. And the first thing is that we cannot intellectualize.
Mm-hmm.
We have to start feeling again. And the only way that we can experience our true human potential is by feeling. And it's not our fault, but a lot of the world, we are stimulated through the mind and what we think we should do and how we should go about that. And the first thing that I would share is that we need to drop out of our mind and give ourselves some time to truly connect to ourselves. So it means going out in nature, taking more time out of your daily schedule to just sit and be, to start feeling, okay, what emotions are coming up in my body. It's by connecting to our emotions and our intuitive center, which is our ability to feel, that's going to activate your human potential. There's a lot of teachings out there about, the power of the mind and really the power of our mindset. And that's incredible. And it will only get us so far. Mm-hmm. Until such point, we will be forced to come into our body and start feeling again. Now, when that happens, we have to be okay with feeling an array of emotions, right? We have to be okay with feeling the perceived positive and perceived negative emotions. I believe there is no such thing as positive or negative emotions. There is just feeling. And when we begin to explore, navigate what it's like to feel again, and yes, it's going to be a journey, because we have been programmed not to feel.
Oh, that's really, really interesting. And yeah, it's interesting because we're talking about quantum physics and universal theories, and the more technologically advanced, and this is something I talk about a lot on the show, the further we seem to be getting from our humanity, which is super scary. Like, these things are supposed to make our lives easier, but they're making us more depressed. They're taking us away from who we used to be. And exactly, like, I mean, Mentorch is a tech company, but I'll tell you right now, I go out for a walk and I go into nature, and as soon as that sun hits me, the UV rays of the sun are 10 times better than any light that your computer screen or your phone is shining on you. And it's healthy. And I agree with you. There's just a majesty of nature that you can't get anywhere else.
I so love that you touched on this, and this is something that I'm really passionate about talking about. And it's really important for us to realize too that we're entering into a digital era, and it's really important that we are grounded and connected to what is real, and understand that as more and more technology becomes available that is very convenient, that will appear really attractive, and will appear to make our lives so much more easy and convenient for us. We need to become aware of whether or not it's distracting us or pulling us away from, like you mentioned, this experience of being human. So, and as you mentioned, I think you hit the nail on the head. The more technologically advanced this world is becoming, the more depression, the more mental illness, the more anxiety is occurring. I had a conversation with a friend who speaks around the world about gaming addiction, and we were having a conversation about this and about the mental health of young kids. and how, you know, these games are drawing them into these artificial worlds, and it's serving as a distraction, because they don't want to feel.
Yeah.
Right, and they don't want to experience what's actually happening in their life. And we were talking about the energetic pull of this artificial intelligence, and how it's creating more and more disconnection. Now, don't get me wrong, because I feel this universe is based on the laws of polarity. Mm-hmm. There's both light and dark in everything. So even within technology, there are certain things that we can use technology for a greater good.
Absolutely.
Right? But if we're not careful, and if we allow it to take over, then we're losing our disconnection with ourselves. We're losing disconnection with this planet. And my journey and my path is staying as connected to this planet and to the earth and to what is real. Yeah. Because we have a challenging 10, 20 years ahead of us, you know, especially if we're bringing up kids into this world. Is we need to become aware of our boundaries. And, you know, before coming onto the call, I was tuning in to, you know, what we'd be chatting about. And one of the things that came to me was, we have a really, really big problem in this world, and I guess we can use the word addiction, but it's not, I don't believe it's our fault. I think that there's a lot of things in the world that if we're not careful, it can take over our power. So tapping into our human potential is the ability to harness your own power, to think your own thoughts, to create your own reality, and to be your own person, right? But there's a lot of things in the world that if we're not careful, and if we don't set our boundaries with it clearly, then it can become an addictive behavior. For example, you know, we see it with smoking, with alcohol, with drugs. We see it with gaming. We see it with your telephone. We see it with social media. Yeah. And I want people to become aware of the relationship with all of these things, because the moment we start to experience a sense of powerlessness, like for example, if I'm on social media and I find myself scrolling, and after about an hour, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to be on that for an hour, but I've just been into this vortex of social media for the past hour. That's in that moment, okay, I lost my sense of power and control in that moment, but now I'm aware of that.
Wow. Yeah.
So for me, that doesn't serve my highest good. That's not allowing me to be my true, like in my highest potential. Mm-hmm. So I'm choosing to set specific boundaries around all of these things, and reclaiming my power. So it might be just each and every day giving yourself an allocated time slot to be on these social medias. But when you experience that sense of powerlessness, that's when we need to address it, and address it quickly. And the same things going with video games, the same things with cigarettes, or any addictive behavior, any behavior that you feel like you're losing your sense of control.
I love that. That's amazing.
I think flexing this muscle now is going to be so crucial, because when this digital era comes in, and it's coming in pretty quickly, you know, Uber talking about drone cars now, which sounds amazing, right? But like, we're going to have a robotic culture, and we're going to have all sorts of stimulated realities that we need to start discerning whether or not they're serving our highest good or not. And only you and I can choose for ourselves. And that's, you know,
wow. Yeah.
That's, yeah.
No, it's huge. That is a message that I don't think a lot of people are willing to confront yet, because one, it's so comfortable not to have control. And then now, if we have to go back and say, okay, I need to restrict this, now it's work, and now I have to take responsibility again. And that's the whole thing that people try to shy away from, but it's super important, because otherwise, you're right, you just pretty much give away control of your really your human behavior and your productivity, and you look back and you're like, man, where did all these hours of my day go? And it was mindlessly to technology. It's a tool. That's what it is. It's not a replacement for your life. So no, that's super awesome and really excuse me, really interesting you said that. I want to get into ATTUNEME and kind of talk about what led you to create that in the first place, and then what you see ATTUNEME's role in society and for the people that you help today.
Yeah, awesome. So what I'll do is I'll briefly just mention, I guess, just how I came to be where I am now and the work that I do. And I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always talking about these topics or had this awareness that I have today. And so I grew up in Ireland, and like I said, I always questioned life. So I always had this deeper knowing. And growing up, I felt like I had, I could feel and I could sense things that other people around me didn't have the awareness of. So quite early on in life, I shut down. I shut down that awareness. And in my mid-teens, early 20s, I suffered with depression and anxiety and all sorts of other physical illness, right? And I felt very lost, very alone. And I didn't feel like I had a support network or people that understood what I was feeling and what I was going through. I then, through that, I graduated uni and I started working in software industry. It's interesting, we're talking about artificial intelligence. Technology has been a huge part of my life, and working in a software company. And then I moved to Australia, where I got an amazing job with the top Fortune 500 company here in Australia. And in a few short years, I was managing the software business across Australia and New Zealand. And I was the youngest female manager with about 20 years. Now, of course, in that period in time, I was doing what anyone would do, and that is to work hard, to lean in, to really prove myself. And in a very short space of time, I physically, mentally, and spiritually burnt out. And at the age of 27, I found myself in a cardiac ward. Wow. And so that was my slap in the face, right? They say, like, the universe will whisper to you when you're off your path. But if you don't listen, you're just going to get a smack, right? And that was my wake-up call. So in the months after this moment, I went through what some would refer to as a spiritual awakening. And in the next couple of months, I suddenly started to experience a deeper sense of connection to myself. I started questioning my soul purpose and my why at a deeper level. And I started to feel, see, and sense things that were beyond the physical. Now, to many, that may sound, pretty crazy. But for me, I felt more at home than I have ever felt. I felt more awake, more in touch, more connected than I've ever felt throughout my whole life. And I feel like my depression, and a lot of, the indigenous people talk about this too, depression, anxiety is a sign that your soul is off path. And it's just a symptom of disconnection. And so went through this spontaneous awakening and really spent, the next couple of months really trying to integrate this. And I embarked on my own journey of personal development. I looked at my diet and really detoxing my body, and I eliminated alcohol and sugar and really started to heal the physical disease. And as I did that, I began to become more sensitive and connected. So an intuitive empath is someone who has a really high level of sensitivity. And there are a lot of people walking on this planet right now that are intuitively empathic and they don't even realize it. And they're walking around feeling depressed and feeling so much pain and anxiety, and it's not even theirs. And my message to you is, if that's you, you need to understand who you are and the level of your sensitivity and begin to learn tools to finally attune, and we'll get to that in a minute, to finally attune your feeling senses so that you can experience life, be in your power, and be able to navigate this world. And you are gifted, and you're here to bring through specific information and to serve humanity at a higher level. And it's only when we begin to master and learn how to navigate our gift is when we're truly going to experience our human potential. And that is what human potential is. You know, we've heard about it. There's many ancient texts. There's many greats that we've heard about, such as Einstein and many, you know, Leonardo da Vinci and all these different people who were tapped in and connected to a greater level of knowing of source, who were able to connect to and tap into information to create these incredible inventions. They had an ability to feel and sense and intuit this world at a very different level. That's not limited to just these people.
Yeah.
We all have the ability to tap into our true human potential. And it is our body, it's our vehicle that stores all this information. And attunement is about allowing the soul to come more into the body, or activating what is already here and beginning to learn how to feel again, beginning to learn how to activate our innate, natural, intuitive abilities. And intuit is really learning how to read information, right? It's learning how to feel. Mm-hmm. Oh, what's this? What's this in my energy field? What am I feeling right now? Okay, is this mine or is this someone else's? Okay, if it's mine, how long has it been there? Is it a past life? Is it a trauma that I've been carrying since I've been a kid? Or is it maybe it's something that I brought through with me from another experience? And that's when things, you know, a lot of the work that I do, we don't just look at the physical, we look at the emotional body, our energy body, and then we also look at, and this is where we need to stretch our imagination, is looking at our multidimensional nature and looking at, you know, whether or not we have had past incarnations and whether or not that our soul is carrying trauma from these other times. So going back to my awakening, I was beginning to intuit and understand all of these things about myself with little or no support in how do I integrate this? How do I, when other people in my network don't really seem to understand what I'm going through. Yeah. So in the next couple of years, I heavily invested in my own personal development, and I began to study NLP to really understand neuro-linguistic programming, and that's really about learning about the unconscious mind and our unconscious patterns and beliefs that are actually causing us to live in a certain way, and specific patterns that are keeping us stuck, right?
Huge, absolutely.
That then, yeah, and that opened up a whole new world. And then I really began to see, when I started mentoring and coaching people, that there was a lot more going on than what meets the eye. And then I started working with people energetically, and then really understanding there was a lot more going on in their energetic field. And over the last couple of years, my work has more and more it has almost come full circle, and it's come full circle back to the body. Yeah. So my work now is working with people to unlock and discern what is going on by working with our body's intuitive intelligence. So some people may have heard of kinesiology and about muscle testing.
Absolutely.
And I use that quite a lot in my work. And I believe, I believe our body stores all the information of everything that we've been through all time and space. And by working with the body, we can begin to unravel and unlock what's causing disharmony and imbalance. And I don't believe in illness. I believe in it's dis-ease, right? It's an imbalance. And for me, I believe that we're constantly ebbing and flowing. We're constantly moving in and out of balance. That's a natural ebb and flow of this universe. Attunement is the act of coming back into harmony and synchronization with self. So for me, if we fundamentally know that naturally we ebb and flow in and out of balance, then wouldn't it be amazing if we had the tools to come back into harmony at any given time, find our center, discern what is triggering and causing this imbalance? And so Attune Me is a process that I've developed which encompasses and brings together my life's work, and is a process to support others in coming back into harmony and synchronization with their soul. Once people have a tangible, direct experience, and again, this is experience, you're not going to logically get this. This is a process that you can only experience. So I take people through a process where they tangibly have a direct experience of their soul and their true human potential. And in that moment, no one can rob you of that. So once you have a direct, tangible experience of who you are, you will never forget that.
Right. Absolutely.
And then our only sole job in any given moment is to attune back to that part of us and attune back and anchor our greater self in any given moment. And so Attune Me it's not new. It's something that I feel our ancestors and a lot of the ancient cultures have always known about. They've always practiced. While I might be using new modern terminology, it's something that is very, very ancient. And it's coming into our awareness now because it's so vital and important that we come more into embodiment. So embodiment, embody me. Right?
Right.
So the concept which we will see in a lot of the New Age teachings and the spiritual teachings, and don't get me wrong, they've served us up until this point, but a lot of them will talk about moving, like ascension, so ascending to a higher plane, ascending and connecting to our higher self. But what if we put a big question on that and realize that what if it's already here? What if this is our higher self? What if our true human potential is just activating what is here? We're not seeking to be anything. We're not seeking to go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's right here.
That's where I forgot where I heard this, but it was recent. And it was the word discover. And I loved how they described it because, when people discover shipwrecks, they don't say that they invented them, or it was there. It was always there, but now you've come across it. So when you find the Titanic, it was there. You didn't put it there. You didn't invent it. You didn't create this theory. It was there, right? So I love that. It's discovering who you are. You're there already. Now, discovering means to uncover something that already exists. And in the United States, we have this funny. Christopher Columbus discovered
Yes.
the United States or North America. No, it was already there. There were native people here. You didn't. It existed, and I think about, you know, exactly what you were just talking about, discovering who you're already there. Maybe not even making that person, but digging deep enough to actually see who you truly are. And I love that.
It's kind of like, as well, many of you might have seen the movie The Matrix.
Yes.
You know, and you remember Neo, he removes the plug and he's in this cocoon, and then he removes a plug and then he's plummeted back into reality.
Yeah.
And he begins to realize that he was part of this like stimulated false reality, and that everything that he had been told, who he was and how, you know, where he came from, he realized that wasn't true anymore. And now, while there's elements of truth in everything, I'm not saying that the Matrix is what we're living in right now.
In cocoons.
But I think it's important for us to become aware that as we tap into our human potential, it's actually like that. It's like we're removing the cultural programs. We're taking off the lenses that have been shaping our reality, or the limiting beliefs. And it's like, whoa, and we're starting to discover what it feels like to be human.
I love it.
Right? We're starting to, what it feels like to use the power of our own mind without the influence of any external influences, and using the power of our heart to create what we've come here to create. Definitely.
So definitely hearing your just amazing journey on getting ATTUNEME started. In running a company like that, what is a resource that you use every day to kind of keep yourself focused and sharp and just the best version of yourself?
I know it's really simple, and people are like, yeah. But getting out in nature first thing in the morning, putting my feet in the earth and connecting to nature, there's nothing that can replace that. And you know, you can look into the science behind it. We are energetic by nature. We move through this world, we work with technology, and as we do, we pick up on specific negative ions, right? And we become more positively charged, right? So if we are really positively charged, it can cause all sorts of imbalances in our energetic and our physical body. So positively charged, we can create more inflammation, more stagnation of energy, which creates tiredness, mental blockages, all sorts of things. When we go out onto the earth, in our bare feet, we have these neuron receptors on the bottom of our feet. And Mother Earth, there's free-flowing radical negative charged electrons that flow on the surface of the earth. So when we place our feet on the earth, not only are we're not just these hippies that are just taking our shoes off and going for a walk in the park. What we're actually doing is we're neutralizing our energetic field by connecting to these free radical electrons that are on the surface of the earth. So we're neutralizing our field, we're releasing any stagnant energy, we're reducing inflammation, we're letting go, like intentionally letting go of, if we're having a stressful day, like letting that go, giving it back to the earth, and come back in with a renewed sense of energy, a renewed sense of clarity, and developing a practice that you do that as often as possible throughout your day. For me, there's so many other practices that I could get into, you know, about like the importance of clean water, of good nutrition, there is, oh gosh, there's just so much we could get into, but if it was one thing that you were to do and start implementing every day, it would be get your feet out in nature.
I have to try that. Okay. What's a poem or a mantra or something that you use that keeps you motivated? Maybe you read it, that just centers you back, whether it's a hard time or just to keep you motivated.
So I actually have these 3 mantras. I hope I remember them now, because every time I go to share them, I always forget one.
Yeah.
But these are actually shared to me by my friend George, who's an amazing friend and mentor of mine. And these are more activation statements than they are, I guess, motivating. So the first one is, I am a creator being. So just repeating that to yourself, like, I am a creator being.
That's powerful.
Acknowledging that you are creating your reality and you have the power to change your situation in any given moment. So I am a creator being. The next one is, I am done suffering. Because as a collective, we have suffered so much.
Yeah.
And it's time now where we embrace our human potential with grace and ease and release the victim archetype, the suffering archetype. So I'm a creator being, I'm done suffering. And the third one, and this is probably the most important and the most crucial one, which really probably was the theme of our call today, which is, I only want what is real.
Love that.
And that one, I share with you with a disclaimer, because when you start calling in what is real, the world is going to start to shift. Things that are out of alignment or that weren't necessarily authentic, people, relationships, projects, things that were causing or only serving as distraction. Don't be surprised if all of a sudden they start to leave your world. Right? And I do this in some of my retreats and workshops, and people message me a few weeks later, they're like, oh my gosh, like all of these things are all of a sudden gone. And it's because they started to claim what was real. And however, simultaneously, all this incredible and new and amazing opportunities start coming into their life, or new friendships, new relationships, new job opportunities. And it's so synchronistic, it's so magical that you can't even imagine, but that's how powerful we are.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge. Wow. I love it. I'm gonna make sure I put all of that in the show notes, because I know people are listening and they're like, okay, first of all, I need to make sure I remember this and reference it. And there is so much. First of all, I feel like this podcast was almost like a short, quick retreat that people are going to be able to, okay, now I got to go to our website because I need to get more of this. So definitely excited about that. We're at the last part, which to me is my favorite part. You've already been giving a lot of value during the podcast and really pretty much giving people tools to open up their best selves and really dive into their own psyche. But we've arrived at the time in our podcast where our guest, Niamh, has 1 minute to pass the torch and leave a legacy. We all know that a mentor or an intuitive mentor is a person who's achieved a level of success or is at a place that we desire and can effectively guide us to that success or place as well. Based on the success that you've achieved at this point in your life, if you could pass the torch and leave a legacy to yourself or someone in a similar situation, how would you pass the torch in 1 hot minute?
Wow. Do I only have a minute?
You only have a minute.
So what would I give them? Is that right?
What would you tell them if you could give them a quick message that they have to take into account and that's what they get to hold on to?
From keeping you from being you. there's there's nothing more I can say all of that, because if we remember who we truly are, there's nothing that can harm us. There's nothing that can prevent us from being, feeling, and experiencing life to our full potential. So it would be, remember who you are. And I've said this to many people, many different clients, and in that moment they go through an activation. So even by sharing those words with one another, remember who you are. No. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't, I'm giving up. I can't continue. It's like, remember who you are. Ground back into reality.
That's it. That's a wrap. That is the value. Remember who you are, and just understand that you should be going after what's real, because there's a lot of stuff going out there right now. There's a lot of distractions. Return to who you are as a human being, because that is the most special thing that we have on this earth, is being human. It's amazing, and you're the only one who gets to be. There's many living things on this planet, this amazing planet, but being human, I think, and I'm biased, but is one of the most special, unique experiences that you can have. So we should enjoy it and live it to the fullest and unlock our human potential. You have been on Pass the Torch podcast with Levante Santos and Niamh, reminding you to seek knowledge and pass the torch. Boom.